Hello, welcome to our first episode of our holiday break. Our first story was written by our own Anne Dark, and in celebration of the beginning of Hanukkah, this one is called The Hanukkah Heist. Hannah Rosen closed her private detective agency early. Her breath fogged the crisp Hanukkah night air as she hurried towards the warm glow of the synagogue. The scent of frying latkes and the faint melody of Hebrew prayers lured her forward. But as she approached, a gnawing unease settled in her stomach. The synagogue, usually bustling with activity on the 8th day and final night of the festival, was eerily quiet. Only a single candle flickered atop the menorah, casting long, distorted shadows across the pews. Hannah's eyes darted around, searching for her family, for the familiar face of her community. She found Rabbi Cohen kneeling beside the altar, his head bowed in prayer. His usually vibrant eyes were clouded with worry. "Rabbi Cohen," Hannah whispered, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Where is everyone?" The rabbi sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Hannah," he said in his hoarse voice, "there's been a theft. The shamash is missing." Hannah's heart sank. The shamash was more than just a candle. It held symbolic significance, representing the miracle of the oil that lasted 8 days. Its absence felt like a dark omen. But who would do such a thing? Disbelief tinged her voice. Rabbi Cohen shook his head. "We don't know. But we must find it. The shamash is the essential light for the remaining candles. Without it, the festival remains incomplete." A spark of determination ignited within Hannah. She couldn't let the holiday be overshadowed by the mystery. She would find the missing shamash. With Rabbi Cohen's blessing, Hannah began the investigation. She questioned a few congregants who were waiting for the ceremony to begin. Scouring their faces for a hint of suspicion, she examined the synagogue, searching for clues for any sign of forced entry. The sky began to darken. Each passing minute dimmed the candle's flame and fueled Hannah's resolve. The thought of a Hanukkah without its full light spurred her onward. Just as despair threatened to consume her, she noticed a pile of prayer books in a shadowed corner of the bima, the raised area from where the Torah is read. It was completely out of place. Hannah approached the corner. As she reached the corner, her heart skipped a beat. Under the pile of books was a pile of candles and the missing shamash. Hannah rushed it back to Rabbi Cohen, relief washing over her like the oil that miraculously filled the temple's menorah. The celebration began, and final candle was lit, its flame casting its warm glow across the synagogue, dispelling the shadows and restoring the joyous spirits of the occasion. Hannah's heart swelled with happiness as she listened to Rabbi Cohen's sermon and Cantor's beautiful prayers. The evening was wonderful, and the congregation gathered around the menorah, singing and sharing stories. Hannah couldn't help but smile. But one question remained. Who would do such a thing? It would never be one of the congregants. The shamash was too precious to them. Hannah resolved to find the culprit, but the ceremony came first. She would continue her search after the celebration was finished. Finally, the congregation stood and retrieved their coats and scarves from their pews. Hannah joined them, but kept an eye on the prayer books in the corner. No one approached. As they left, Hannah settled behind the book rack where the hymnals were kept. The rabbi turned out the interior lights as he left. He did not notice Hannah was in her hiding place. She could see by the light of the Nar Tamid, the eternal light that's situated at the front of the synagogue above the ark. It's never allowed to go out. Hannah kept very still until she heard the outer door unlock. Who could it be? She tried to make herself invisible, but a shiver of fear traveled up her spine. Soon she heard a metallic noise, and she peeked out from behind her hiding place. It was Mrs. Nolan, the woman who cleaned the synagogue after the services. She started mopping the floor of the room, but soon approached the stack of prayer books. She lifted them from the floor with increased consternation. That's when Hannah stood up. Mrs. Nolan, what are you looking for? Mrs. Nolan jumped as if she'd seen a ghost. I'm just returning these books to the shelf. Someone put them over in the corner, she said, in her very thick accent. But you appear to be rather frantically looking for something, Hannah replied. Suddenly Mrs. Nolan burst into tears. I am sorry, she gasped. I needed to get some candles. The power company has turned off our electricity. My husband has a gambling problem, and I was desperate. I am no thief, usually, but I don't know what else to do, and I don't think they would miss a few simple candles. Hannah sat on the bench. She explained how the shamash is not just a candle, it's the helper candle, the most important candle in the menorah. The shamash is the candle used to light the other candles of the Hanukkah menorah. If you promise not to ever try this again, I won't report it to the rabbi. Hannah reached inside her pocketbook. Here is some money. It isn't much, but I hope it will help a bit. Hannah handed Mrs. Nolan $50. She was going to give it to her nephew. She could stop at the ATM tomorrow. Mrs. Nolan sobbed and grabbed Hannah's hand. Thank you so much, she gasped. I need this job, and I promise that I will never do this again. I didn't realize how important the candle is. I meant no harm. Now you need to finish your cleaning. The synagogue needs to be spotless for the next service, Hannah says. Bless you, said Mrs. Nolan, and she turned to her work. Hannah gathered her belongings. She was very happy. The mystery had been solved, but beyond that, she had witnessed the resilience of her community, their faith unwavering in the face of adversity. She knew that, like the flame of the Hanukkah candles, their spirits would continue to shine bright even in the darkest of night. The end. Happy Hanukkah. Well, this is the end of another awesome year at Dark and Stormy. We wanted to make sure we took the time to wish every one of you the happiest of holidays. It's been a whirlwind year. We've added our lovely Misty to our mix. You've been with us over a year now, right?
Yeah, it was November of last year.
Yep.
We are so thrilled and happy that she is still with us and hasn't run from the building.
I'm glad you haven't kicked me out yet. So thanks.
He hasn't run screaming for the...
We usually do a year-end wrap-up, but since we'll be on our long winter's nap, we figure we'll do a real quick one here. So, Misty, would you like to tell them what your favorite moment of the last year was?
Absolutely. You know, when you asked me that question originally, there were a series of them. I'm going to say really any time that we've all laughed together.
That's a good one.
This is one of the most wonderful things that I have ever been invited to. When you guys approached me at one of the Cozy Cons and brought this up, I literally went out to my car and thought, you cannot be this lucky. And then I
We're
thought,
better than the lottery.
I thought, please don't let this suck. And so in both of those, I am this lucky and it has never sucked. This is such a joy. It's a joy to be able to interact with people outside of this, knowing that they listen, but then it's just a joy to interact with you guys. I love what we do about bringing books to people, the newsletter that's done. And so really it's every episode is my favorite moment.
I remember when we asked you, I think you had gas on your lips before I even finished the question.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to? Yes.
You guys are kidding me. Of course. Are you even asking? Just put me on. It'll be fine. And I think, what I know that we had talked about, like, what are you looking forward to also? And I think it's just more. It's more because, we were talking earlier and I have a heat press, which is going to get me in a whole lot of trouble, but be such a fabulous thing for all of you, because I am going to make things that you have never seen before, and you're going to love every single one of them, and you're going to want one for your own.
I've got a Cricut, and I can make them too.
Just the way that this works, knowing that in the coming year, I will get to read books that I might not have taken a chance on my own, knowing that I get to share them, that we get to talk at conventions, people who are longtime listeners or are just finding us for the first time. All of that is just, I look forward to every single second of it. So thank you guys for having me. And then thank you, all of you out there, for listening and making this so much fun to do.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, my favorite moment of this past year was Fright Reads. I
No
loved
doubt.
every minute of it. I know it's a local thing here in Maryland. It's growing. Oh, is it growing? Harry, he has a vision, and I am there for it. And we've been with him since the beginning. We cannot wait to see what he comes up with next year and the years in the
Yes.
future.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm looking forward to next year is kind of along the lines of Misty, more. I want more. I want to bring you more books. I want to bring you, and not just more books, but more books per episode. I want to be able to expand your reading list. I've actually developed a new passion for books. I've always had a passion for books, but I'm redeveloping that passion and I want to pass it on to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I look forward to that too. Now I got two things to look forward to.
Okay, my favorite thing of the year was the people that we met at Malice Domestic. There were some people that we already knew, but then there were some new people like Sue Anger. She was a trip, but it was good to catch up with old friends also. I always look forward to Malice. Looking forward, I would like to have more like a theme for a month.
Okay.
Like February, maybe romance, or even though maybe we don't read romance that much, but there's a lot of books with just enough romance that it would qualify. That our theme is going to be beginnings.
Yes.
So it could be a beginning of something or a first book in a new series. There's a million things you could say beginning. I would like to have the podcast grow more. I think it has potential, but I don't want to lose track of our old Dark and Stormy, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
You stay true to the mission.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked the idea of the word more. I'm not looking for it to be different. I'm looking for it to be a growth of what is already there. I think so much of what we do is valued for the fact that we talk about books, for the fact that we have a newsletter that, really does go through things that you liked about the book and how it was put together. But you're also not necessarily pulling punches. And I think people like that you don't have to love everything. And this might not be up someone's alley, but we also cover enough kinds of books that we're not only doing one kind. We're putting a bunch of things out there. We all bring very different books to the podcast.
And different views, and that's what makes it nice. This isn't just a podcast. This isn't a pigeonhole podcast.
Yes.
I'm not always going to enjoy what you're reading, and you're not going to always enjoy what I'm reading, but there's plenty of people out there that are going to find something they like.
Yeah. Right. That's the more I think that I would like to see is what we do plus. Yes. More of what we do. Not
the new and improved Dark and Stormy.
Necessarily just new.
But that's why in the newsletter I try to, when I do the book recommendations, I try to get a few genres in there. Like,
yeah, you do a good job with that.
You do a very good job. Dang it, now I gotta read that one and that one and that. Like, my Kindle is overstuffed with all of the things that I'm like, well, Anne loved it, and that's, dang it, I'm going to want that one. So that I think, one of the things that I would recommend for anyone who listens is look at the newsletter. There are a lot of really good recommendations in there on top of
I do at least 6 books a month. It helps clean our to be read list.
Yep.
and keeps people a little happier when they're at least mentioned.
Before we go, I want to make sure that for any of the writers that listen to our show, that you need to check out Misty's TikTok because she does. I enjoy these so much. I'm not a writer,
thank you.
but I really like the way you approach those. I look forward to those every day.
Good.
And she gives a writing prompt every day.
Right. No, I decided to do them every day. Part of it, I think, is that even if you're not a writer, the whole point is that you showed up. That does not only have to be with writing. It could be any day that you showed up. And if you need a little boost, I am there for it.
What's your name on there?
Just Misty Simon Wright. There's a lot going on in the world, and there are a lot of people who just want to hear a friendly voice saying, "You've got this."
Mm-hmm.
And I can be that. And then just as much for me, because I've listened to my own a couple of times. I'm like, all right, look, you showed up. Just listen to yourself.
Like, there's a lot of people sitting at home going, I've always wanted to write a book.
Yes.
But they just haven't pulled the trigger.
Yep.
And maybe including me.
Well,
I think you should write a book.
Absolutely.
I have written so many starts to books that
you need to get in there. Now Misty knows about that. That's going to be problematic for you.
Well, so we wish you all happy holiday.
Absolutely.
And a very healthy new year.
We will see you. We'll say early January.
And we are going to be doing all kinds of fun things, so do not miss it. Put us on automatic download.
Yes.
Right.
Every Tuesday.
Bye.
I did it!
Yes.
Very good.